How you guys doing?
Good.
Great. It's an honor to be here today. Let me think. Roughly about, let's say 10,584 or 85 days or so ago, I'm not that much of a mathematician. Miraculous, marvelous, outstanding history took place right here in this city. And because this is a history program, I would love to see who knows their history. Roughly, that's about 3 decades ago. Something that absolutely changed the city. The city was marked that day, and it's never been the same again. Does anybody have any clue what took place? Anybody? Ooh, no, sir. It's going to be a tough crowd. Let me give you guys a clue. On that particular day, yes, I was born. I say that because if it wasn't for that history, we wouldn't be here today, right? Excellent history, best day. But it's actually an honor and a pleasure to be here today to speak with you guys because I hold this city of Atlanta near and dear to my heart. It's a city that I was born and raised in. And we're not going to just talk about Atlanta, we're going to talk about the history of Atlanta. And if you guys are familiar with Atlanta in any kind of way, you know about the rich history about the Civil Rights Movement. You know about the Dr. Martin Luther Kings and the Joseph Lowers and the Ralph David Abernathy's and the Maynard Jackson, so forth and so on. But we're going to talk about the last 10 years of history right here in this city. And there's some incredible things that's happened within the last 10 years right here in Atlanta. But when I look at history, oftentimes when I look at it, I don't just look at black history, I look at all history. Because one thing that history tells us is that there's always an example throughout history that shows us how to get it right. There was always somebody throughout history, no matter what culture of history that you focus on, there was always at least one individual that showed us an example, one individual that struggled so that we can rest in where we are today. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You guys okay?
Yeah.
It's okay, we're like family. We can talk, it's like conversation. I'm not much of a speech guy, so we can just talk and be related. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Okay, cool. So we're going to talk about some of those good things that happened in history over the course of the last 10 years. Like, for example, within the last 10 years, Atlanta had one of the first African-American female mayors to ever be the mayor of any metropolitan city, and that was Miss Shirley Franklin. She did some incredible things over the last 10 years right here in the city. When you guys agree? Mm-hmm. Okay. Also, I saw within the last 10 years, the state of Georgia actually put together a Hope Scholarship within the last 10 years. It helped a lot of students that were originally from Atlanta be able to go on and get a higher education. Some of your nieces or nephews, so forth and so on. I know a lot of individuals that benefited from that, right? But what I want to key in and focus on today is how can we use the last 10 years worth of Atlanta history in order to teach us how to create greater legacies for future generations. Does that make sense? Because it's one thing to look at history, it's another thing to figure out what we can do today to create even greater history. And in order to do that, we have to also look at some of the not so good things that have taken place within the last 10 years of Atlanta. Because being here and living here and living all over this city, I've seen some not so good things that have taken place in the last 10 years. I've seen a disconnect, in my opinion, between our youth and our adults. I've also seen within the last 10 years a lot of great programs being cut off. A lot of things that we need that were stopped due to funding or things of that nature. So I've seen some disconnects and I've seen some other things take place in this city that, you know what, we have to fix. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That we have to fix. And, you know, oftentimes when I look at history, I look at that word, his story. So I think about his story and her story, but today I want to more so focus on your story and my story. Does that make sense? I want to focus on what we can do and how we can improve and change lives going forth in the future. Now think about this. When I spoke with the individuals that were putting this program together today, they wanted me to focus on 2 areas of success. Because at the end of the day, I always look at it as in order to affect lives in the future, or in order to have any future success, it starts with our individual success. Does that make sense? We first have to have individual success so that we can create overall success. So when I thought about that, I said, you know, it's very hard to talk about success unless I paint an entire picture. Because most of the time when people mention the word success, what do we think first off?
Money.
Money. Wow, you guys are good. First thing most people think of, and I'm not here to tell you that you're incorrect, I'm just here to tell you you're incomplete. Because success is money, but it's not just money. Actually, money is like that little small thing on the side. So I don't want to talk about just that, even though I am going to touch on that. But I want to talk about the whole man of success, because there's several components that have to be in place so that our future generations can look at us as examples. Yes, that financial portion has to be in place, right? Not only that, but your health success has to be in place. We got to learn how to take better care of ourselves. That definitely has to be in place. Your relationship success has to be in place. I often learn that over the years, and I learned this the hard way, but I learned that every success in life is a relationship success. There is no success you will ever accomplish without the relationships of people. You have to learn the difference between your confidants in life, your constituents, and even your comrades. I don't have time to break down all three of those and how they play a major role, but you have to learn the difference because every person in your life counts for something. You are a sum total of the 5 people that you hang around. We can talk about spiritual success because that's a big part. Some people have it, some people don't. Some people believe in it, some people don't. But at the end of the day, we all believe in something. No matter what, there's something that's hardwired to your core that wakes you up every day. There's something that makes you move every day. There's something that keeps you going every single day. So in order to talk about success, we have to touch on all of those. Unfortunately, I only have time to touch on 2. And I'm going to talk about the 2. I won't say they're the most important, but I do believe that they're the 2 most talked about. And I'll start with the financial portion. We just mentioned that. Now, finances. This is going to be hard because I want you guys to like me, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this in a great way so that everybody can still smile, but it might be hard. But when I think about finances, oftentimes when I talk to people, has anybody ever said, I want to make more money? Mm-hmm. Come on. Mm-hmm. Talk to this side of the room. To the wealthy people, I'm going to stay over here for you. Has anybody over here ever said, we wanted to make more money? Yeah. Sure, yeah. Of course you have. And in a society that we live in today, money is all around us. Every time you turn on the television, there's what I call the more complex. More house, more cars, bigger and better. It's all in our faces. And if that part is not in our faces, it's this other side of recession. We're in a recession. We're in a recession. We can't do this. We can't do that. So that aspect of money is all around us. But what I often find is how many people actually invest in their financial education. Because what I've learned about money is that until you expand your knowledge of finances, you won't expand your bank account. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'll say that again in case somebody missed it, but until you expand your knowledge of finances, you won't expand your bank account. It's funny because I had lunch with a young lady a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking, and she's talking about all of this money that she wants to make. She wants to be a millionaire, and she wants to do this, and she wants to do that. And I asked her a question. I said, well, let me ask you this. I said, if you made millions tomorrow, what would you do with it? Where would you put it? She said, well, I would invest it all in the stock market. I said, oh, wow. Let me preface this statement that I'm about to make. I'm not a part of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'm not a licensed NASD broker. I'm not part of FINRA in any kind of way, even though I have one or more associates in all of those institutions. But I would bet money that even they would tell you that putting all your money there might not be the best option right now. So I said, well, I don't know about that. I said, well, what else do you have? She said, well, worst case scenario, I put it all in a savings account and I collect the interest. I said, And I thought about that. I said, well, have you noticed that the rate of inflation is more than most percentages on savings accounts these days, right? Right? Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. My point in saying that was sometimes we want things before we're prepared for it. If that makes sense? And at the end of the day, as I continued to talk to her, how I was able to transform her mind to where I wanted her to think was, it's okay to want these things. I feel that in this country, of any other country, we all have the desire, we all have everything that we need, we deserve to have anything that we want. But at the end of the day, I had to get her to understand you have to expand that knowledge. Because by any means, if you slip through a crack and by any chance you make this money or expand this bank account without expanding that knowledge, guess what? That money won't be there long, right? Now, here's one of the keys that I always tell people when you're talking about finances. First and foremost, start with where you are. It's something about maximizing what you have right now. Yeah, white. Let's get it back. It's something about maximizing. I promise it's going to get fun in like 10 minutes, I promise. It's all about maximizing what you have right now. I'm going to say a bad word. It's a word that I often get in trouble for, but I'm going to say it anyway. I might want to turn the camera off just in case. Budget. Budget. Somebody said, ooh, somebody got upset. Budget. Because what I find out when I'm dealing with finances is most people have never done a real budget. Yeah, you know how much, where your bills are due and things of that nature, but most people have never done a real budget. What do I mean? Meaning that if you make $80,000 a year, yet you're spending 95, you have an issue. You have a big issue, and the answer isn't make more money. The answer is figure out why you consume. Because even if someone gives you the additional money to make up the 95 that you're spending, if your mind stays the same, and you stay in that same way of thinking and that same way of consuming, guess what? It won't be long before now you make 95, but now you're spending 105 or 110 or 115. Does that make sense? So you have to change the way you think. Start by where you are. Budget your money. Figure out if you're spending more than what you have. And if you're spending more than what you have, guess what? There's no shame in it because we all have done it. Well, let me not speak for everybody. I have done it personally. So if you are, there's no shame in it, but what you have to do is figure out a way, how do I get back within my means? Because that is the first lesson of prospering. And once you figure out how to get back in those means, guess what? Now you can go above where you are because this has changed. Because this is the key to everything. Does that make sense? Somebody said, we're done with finances. You guys okay? Wasn't too painful? Moving on to health. This is getting real fun. When I think about health success, it often poses me because in the world that we live in today, in efforts to make that money and in efforts to go higher and do all of these things, we often neglect these bodies that we live in. You guys agree? We often neglect the minerals and the vitamins and the nutrients and all of the things that this body needs in order to keep moving. And when you neglect that, your health success lacks. Now, here's a statement that my uncle told me years ago, and it is proven true. I've never ever seen a Brinks truck following a hearse. Ever. I've been to several funerals. No matter your level of income, that income is not following you. When it's over, it's over. Meaning that at the end of the day, no matter how successful you are financially or career-wise or business-wise, if this body is not healthy, what does it all matter? Because if the money that you have can't correct the disease or whatever's ailing your body, then it really doesn't make any difference, right? So we have to learn to take care of these physical bodies. Now, I'm going to give you guys a secret. Here's my trick to eating better. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I'm your doctor or you're a nutritionist or anything like that. I'm not going to tell you that you're a vegetarian or vegan or any of that. But I will tell you this, and this is my secret. And if you guys try this, you will hate me, I promise you. So if I see any of you guys after today, and you walk up to me and you smile, I know you didn't do this. Because there's no way that you're going to do this and like me. But here goes. Here's a trick. Before you eat or drink anything else from this day forward, I want you to ask yourself this simple question. Should I really be putting this in my body? I mean, seriously, ask yourself that question. Should I really be putting this in my body? You know, before you eat the pastry or before you take in the coffee every morning, or before you smoke the cigarettes, or whatever it is that you do. Ask yourself that small question. Should I really be putting this in my body? And I guarantee you, it will mess up everything about your day. It does it to you every single day. I mean, just today, I was up at the gas station, and I wanted to get a soda, but I made myself get this vitamin water. I said, you know what? It's a little bit healthier than me getting soda, right? But I had to ask myself that question. Should I really be putting this in my body? And when you ask yourself that, if nothing else, it's going to make you conscious. It's going to make you conscious of what you're doing. Then you can ask yourself, when was the last time I went to the gym? You have to ask yourself, when was the last time I went to the gym? Or when was the last time I went to the gym and I was consistent about it? You have to ask yourself these questions. They're not fun questions by any means, but if we're going to leave a legacy for future generations, then we have to look at the history from where we've come. See, I look at my history dealing with health and concerning my family, and I notice some of the things that we ate. I don't even want to tell you because it's real, it's just not good. So some of the things that we ate, that I see why we had some of the issues that we had. So in order for me to make sure that my children and their children aren't in that same position, I have to start right now today, right? With changing my eating habits and changing the way and the things that I do. Because most of the time, most people, when it comes to history, most of the time we spend a lot of time reminiscing in the past. And there's nothing wrong with looking to the past for examples. Or we spend a lot of our time hoping in the future. And there's nothing wrong with vision and looking beyond where you are. But often we neglect the gift. And the gift is the present. And it's not called present by any means, but because it is the gift, because it's the only thing you have is today. Because you have to do something different today in order to affect tomorrow. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Now I know I'm running out of time, so I'm ready to close, and I'll close with this. And if nothing I said made sense, take this home with you. I'll give this away for free. Everything else, I'm sorry. This is free. In order to transform anything in your life, you must first transform your mind. I'll say that again. In order to transform anything in your life, you must first transform your mind. Contrary to popular opinion, as human beings, we don't live from the outside in, we live from the inside out. Meaning whatever's programmed, whatever's going on the inside of here, that's what's coming out. That's what you're seeing in your everyday life. And until you change this will never, ever change. In saying that, at Born to Win, we created a CD called Winner Status, and I think we have some here today. And we go into detail, not just about changing your mindset, but how to do it. Step by step, what to put in, what not to put in, so forth and so on. I would encourage you to pick that up and take that in detail, because it's critical. Because everything that you think about, everything that you ponder on, everything that you see and you perceive, it's creating something on the outside. You show me somebody that's full of anger and full of bad thoughts in their mind, I'll show you someone with a not so great life on the outside, right? Good deal. I'll close with this quote. It's a quote from Les Brown that I heard maybe about 10 years ago, and it always sums up everything that I talk about. And the quote says, "You must be willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have." See, we must be willing to take advantage of what we have to do for our finances today so that our children and the future of Atlanta is in a position tomorrow where other cities may not be because they won't make that sacrifice. We must be willing today to take advantage of what we need to do for our health so that tomorrow our kids will know that, you know what, I have to work out 2 to 3 times a week. I can't eat, fast food 4 and 5 days a week. We have to do that today so that all of us will be in a position tomorrow that maybe someone else won't be in. I'm RJ Hodges. Thank you, guys.